And this has huge significance and importance, and it is the ancient symbols of each element of the periodic table, and that there's purpose behind them. There's actual physics involved with it. They see it says elements there. No, that's the 4 states of these elements. All right, you have uh, earth, which is solid, you have water, which is liquid, you have air, which is gas, and you have fire, which is plasma. That is the 4 states of the elements, and you're looking at it on the periodic table of elements that they clearly knew about and had symbols for each and every one of the elements. So when you saw the 4 elements plus the 5th, it's the 4 elements plus the periodic table of elements. All right. It's advanced science that we are just starting to rediscover, and it has to do with cold fusion. That is the transmutation of these elements from one to another. They knew what they were doing. It has to do with harmonics. It has to do with the octave scaling system, and so much more that we will be getting into. And one of the key, well, I will say modern day alchemists, even though rest in peace to his eternal soul, Walter Russell, from over a century ago. But in regards compared to the ancient alchemists and, well, Walter Russell's diagrams, they tie in together substantially. And here we have Westminster Abbey. And, well, another aspect of ancient alchemy is the alchemy of the cathedrals. And what are the cathedrals? Well, they were organs. They were masterpieces of worship, and workshop, and so much more. The spiritual transmutation, possibly even into divinity within them, but that's a whole other topic of spiritual alchemy for another day. Point being, there is major electrical engineering and physics, acoustic. It's so advanced what these things, how they're built and what's going on with them. But yeah, it will be in my Adept Alchemy 101 series. We will be doing a few episodes specifically on the cathedrals, as well as on the symbols, and that's our main focus of today. So right here, right, the 4 elements: fire, aka plasma; air, aka gas; water, aka liquid; earth, aka solid. Look, fire, plasma, it goes up. That triangle's up. Air, gas also goes up, but plasma hotter than gas, so it's higher than this one is lower. Then what? You got liquid, the third one, or water, liquid, it's down. And then you got earth farthest down, plus the elements, right? Plus the elements. What were we looking at? The periodic table of elements. So you have the 4 phases or states of elements. We just have a missing word in there. And you add the phases in, and it starts to make a lot more sense. And all of a sudden, it is advanced science, and it is written in it. And Quad 10 sources, the majority of these I actually got off of what the heck is that site? It'll come to me. I was thinking of it, then forgot it. All the Walter Russell ones, they are out of his one main PDF that is either you or Dazzle sent me. Here we have the most famous of the Walter Russel diagrams. And shout out Angel Dreams from Northern Cali and Daniel Foster. Good to see you, brother. Bim Jim as well. Not sure. Hank Derbs, Quad 10, Howard Arted, Limited State. Love y'all. Thank you for being here today. And although I wish I could go for a full 2 out pin something, right? Yes, a pin. It'll come. Stupid. Jessica. Yes, good to see ya. Anywho, back to what we're looking at. This one, Walter Russell's main periodic table that is both vortex based, right? But it's also the octave scales. That's a key part of Walter Russell's scaling of the periodic table of elements, as well as how energy and matter and crystallizations form electrochemistry and geology. There's so much all in it together, and that nature has these simple patterns and structures and geometries that it follows. And once you figure it out and see that it's in the octaves, that its color as well shifts from red to blue, right? Or oxygen blue, ultraviolet, and hydrogen infrared, red heat hot, right? So on the opposite sides of the spectrum, and that the elements go back and forth. This is another, so Dale Pond added these two together, but those are two additional Walter Russell diagrams. Ooh, here we got some Gothic churches and cathedrals from France, and well, the geometry, there's I'm not going to go on a side tangent for it today, but it is very relevant in all of this, and I will be doing specific episodes dedicated to it in the future. Gravity cycle is the motivative force of universal heartbeat. Okay. Right. I think it's universal law, maybe, that the name of the book that all of these diagrams of Walter Russell's from. So the formula of the locked potential is applied to the law of emanation orbits. Interesting. So this is the octave scale, but see, what's fascinating is these are also having to do with elements. There's a good 20 or 30 of these different spiraled Walter Russell diagrams, half of them being like other physics, energy, light, electrical, scaling, relativity, and then the other half being with the periodic table of elements. And isn't it interesting? Commonly used array element symbols. Well, these all look like electrical engineering symbols to me. Don't they look like that to you? Because, well, Pinterest. There we go. Yes, that is the source of all of this. I scooped it off of Pinterest. So don't sue me, millions of Pinterest artists. But yeah, all right. Anywho, I do have Pinterest account with all of the originals of these saved with the original sources that someday when I figure out AI, I will get it to connect them all to it. But all right, so the key point here is gold, and it's the sun. And what is it? It's also the right-hand rule of electric current and, physics, right? So, and it's the sun. So Well, that is also that same symbol. And when you start realizing that and how these all have to do with you're looking at your one-dimensional disk plane of inertia, whether it be the sun, the current, your circuit, it's all the exact same, and it's all connected, and it has to do with this universal relativity uh, theory of everything. But alchemy, well, they understand it in a super advanced way, and it is essentially the God code, the galactic code or matrix or intelligence of how energy, consciousness, and everything works. And well, this is a little disclaimer I should probably have at the beginning, but when you read ancient alchemical manuscripts, all the real ones, they start out by warning that if you share this information publicly or the wrong people, you will be killed and executed. So I don't usually like saying that because then it's like I'm consciously admitting this and knowing that by making these videos for all of you lovely, beautiful people and the education of humanity, that whoever the guardian gatekeepers of these ancient technologies, practices, and knowledge of universal law, well, in their written secret society laws, could come and execute me for this, punishable by death. And supposedly, you're only allowed to share it with your ruling king or queen or monarch, right? And that it states to go directly to them only. And yeah, so it's the classified technology of the time, the science, and it really is real science and technology and suppressed history and the rest of it. And yeah, so yeah, it's time that humanity gets this knowledge, and the gatekeepers, well, the gates be torn down, tear down that wall or whatever, right? So salt, well, it's salt water for me. Oh, you have life and death kind of current circuits. You have your antenna going into the circuit. There's so much that these I'll have to do special breakdown specifically on them and go deeper into it as I disclose and decode and put forth the ancient pictographic symbol language that is both electrochemistry, it is fusion, fission, it is EM gravitational energies of the planets, moons, stars, and the plasma of the universe, aka what makes up 99.9999% of everything. And yes, this is very important. The colors that go with the states of elements. And that the symbols, they're more showing chemical reaction aspects and how energy works in different elements. This breakdown I've always seen, that is your negative current, that is your positive current going into your electrolyte, and then the shapes of how the different crystals and elements form within your cold fusion saline electrolysis reaction cold fusion system. And it has to do with the relativity of the diagrams, of the geometry, of Walter Russel and everything that he has done. Yes, good call, Angel Dreams. And that is actually another key part of the symbols and spells of ancient alchemy. And it kind of tripped me out at first how much there actually is within it. And yeah, there's wizardry, there's magic, there's sorcery. It's all real within ancient alchemical and modern alchemical practitioners of the occult and esoteric crafts. And that should never forget that, because, well, they're using all of it against us at all times. And that is the trap. That is the matrix used to get people to fall into being the cog of the machine and surrendering your free will, and being down on an action reaction, fight or flight based two-dimensional thought and action process, compared to your free will, that third dimension that we exist in, or your fourth dimension when you're on a higher consciousness and you're existing consciously through time space, right? So when you're planning of ahead, when you're reflecting on the past, when you're thinking of others within your thinking, that is fourth dimensional consciousness right there. And then you can have five dimensional consciousness, where you literally, well, that is your astral projection, your out of body experiences, and the rest of it, and dream space as well. Okay, that was a little bit off topic though. Back to what we are looking at and going through. And here we are, some of the sigils, right? What are these sigils and spells? Well, they really do look and resemble like modern day circuits. And I'm pretty sure it was Jeremiah pointed out one of them actually is like an LED circuit. So it's like, we're told these angels came, put out light, and, well, if you're making the LED light that is this circuit, is that angel light, or was it just technology misinterpreted, or is it both? Good questions that need to be further investigated. And Wise the healer, Lightened peacemaker, K-Gyps. Oh, the protector, right? Archangel Michael, always the protector. So I guess that's the one need do around me. All right, use universal mathematics. And this is a key aspect of Walter Russell's diagrams and scaling, is that he understood the relevance of volume and geometry and geometric mathematics and scaling, and how that is so relevant and crucial into your understanding of physics, of atomics, as well as understanding how electricity, how light, how sound, how heat, how everything, how matter forms and deforms, constructs and deconstructs, and interacts with each other. And that there is a universal scale, aka the science of God, rediscovery of electrons. Interesting. This one definitely newer, not Walter Russell, and expanding on it much further and more in depth. Also on the very, I gotta Oh, look, get more into that. Get the higher res image of it as well. All right. The ciphers of Aleister Crowley. Alphabet of daggers. Latin. Alphabet of arrows. Enochian. Illuminati cipher. Talismanic cipher. Theban runes of Honorius. Celestial scripts. Alchemy and celestial. Celestial, like alien, potentially? Off-world? Oh, we got Enochian. And the Illuminati cipher. Oh, they have a bunch. Look at that. Illuminati cipher. It's the ALchemical. Another fascinating clip. Oh, yes. And good to see you, Fourth Wiseman. Yeah, it's wild. Numbers are also extremely magical and important. And that, see, look at this. This is Mayan. It's Mayan language. And it's also very similar to Chinese, ancient Chinese, I believe. Right? More connections to them. And why they had to wipe out the Incas and their language, because it proved, well, the past global, worldwide civilization interactions with each other. All right, that's a video game. Never mind. All right, back to Walter Russell's diagrams. And, 100 years ago, man and woman, biology of the duality of male and female. Walter Russell sure got it, but apparently the charade that is modern day science freaking academia / Hollywood bullshit. What is the douchebag's name I'm trying to think of? The fake, not stupid Bill Nye that I've punned my name off of. The other douchebag, the African American one, supposed physicist retard that's trying to claim that there's all sorts of different sexualities and bullshit, and it's like you couldn't name one example in nature. Just ridiculous. Neil deGrasse. There we go. That's who I've been cussing out this whole time. But shout out to Walter Russell putting down the facts, well, 100 years ago, and that it's part of the universal code. And Barences, interesting. Pome Barences. This is more Walter Russell. The expansion and compression simultaneously. More Walter Russell. No. The exact opposite of Terrence Howard. I was referring to Neil deGrasse, the disgrace. She'll disgrace. Yes, he is. All right. So what we're looking at, another octave scale of Walter Russell, the 6-octave working range, lowering potential, increasing potential, all the elements on this insane octave arch periodic table scaling system. And he's got about 10, maybe more different ones with the elements in this archway octave periodic geometry. And you just can't help but correlate it to the archways on all of the ancient cathedrals. Literally, the cathedrals have exactly this on the doors, on the main doors, and the law. It's alchemy. It's called fusion. Walter Russell knew. Another Walter Russell diagram. Pendulum of creation. Periodics. Oh, here we got half of it. We have another, let's say, forget the name of who did it, but another geometry of the periodic table. It's pretty good too. Gives context. Interesting. That's horrible resolution. Need to get that better. So here is another one of Walter Russell's diagrams of the archway periodic table geometry. More Walter Russell diagrams. He truly understood the geometry of motion, of energy transfer. Quite crucial. Sigils for magic. That looks like freaking technology. Interesting. Pentacles of Saturn. Very interesting. Some basic sigil writing. And yeah, there's a lot of power magic, and there's so much to it. Not going to get into spell casting today and all of that aspect of alchemy and sorcery and the rest of it, but it's there. It's a crucial point of it. Oh, here we have the Reichstag. Reichstag looks pretty darn similar to the layout of the underground Egyptian labyrinth on the Giza Plateau that has been officially discovered and announced several times, only to just be swept back under the sand. But anyways, that's another story for yet another day. Ancient alchemical symbols. They all have a lot of multiple meanings and purpose. Okay? The Inferno, Purgatory, Paradise, Jerusalem at the very bottom of hell. Interesting. Very interesting. There we go. Water heart. Interesting. We have now wave interactions, also by Walter Russell. 1935, I guess he did that diagram. Long before computers, we had Walter Russell drawing everything in perfect 3D and 2D, just wild how he visualized and manifested and showed how light, waves, EM fields, sound, magnetism all work together. And even more Walter Russell diagrams. Before 32 magic. Look at this. All right, so here we literally have electrical and electronic circuit symbols. This is modern day electrical and electronic circuits. What's the bloody F when you're comparing it to all of the alchemical sigils and symbols we were just looking at? This is literally the exact same. So when you're dealing with energy, electrical and electronic circuit symbols, and the alchemists, wizards, and sorcerers for hundreds of years, if not, well, actually documented thousands of years, using the exact same symbols for dealing with energy of the spiritual kind. And that I've also shown proof that they were using and understood electricity as well. All right. There we go. Periodic table and the periodic table. Very good. 1208. All right. So now look at this. Ceremonial magic. Look at what we have here compared to those electrical circuits we were just looking at. Seriously. This electrical circuits, electronic. Shout out, Sonny. Good to see you. Boom. Modern day electrical circuits and symbol circuits. And then we have ceremonial magic, ancient sigils and symbols. I'd say this is looking like more advanced circuitry, well, than the basics that we were shown with modern day. Fascinating stuff. Different ancient languages. Fascinating. Back to more circuit symbols. We got circuit symbols. What do they mean in those advanced sigils that are energy circuits of multi-dimensions? Thank you, Daniel. Glad you are finding a value in my work and seeing that, well, modern circuitry, a gate. Oh, the gates. We got all sorts of bridges and gates. Interesting. And then what are these supposed to be? Bridges and gates to entities that look like advanced circuits. So that is why I must stress, do not ground with trying to summon or, create these spells, because you might just bring up a freaking demon and get possessed. All right. Like, what's to say someone in time didn't write that all the angels are the demon spells and the demons are the angel spells, or just, like, it's supernatural. You're dealing with powers much greater than yourself. Well, yeah, you don't need to have an exorcism, and that's if you're lucky. But does this make more sense on what they're doing at CERN? It certainly does. They're making sigils of, well, they're trying to complete the sigil circuit seals to another dimension. That's for darn sure. That's what they are doing. Ingo Waldemar Dabert Hack, 1914. Periodic table, another vortex-based periodic table, the same time frame of Walter Russell. There's another one of it. All right, so there's the main vortex-based octave Walter Russell diagram, but then there's 10 or 12 of these of the different octaves also with it. It's advanced science. If you haven't figured that out yet, these are the formulas and the structures of how you actually do cold fusion and spiritual fusion and creating mass and gravity and plasma and the rest of it. There's a lot to it. It's literally the God code. And that's what Walter Russell is very good at breaking down, and there's just so much. And that will be a whole series that I'll be doing as well, decoding it, at making sense of it, and adding it into the understanding of how it fits into the alchemical code. Pythagorean cosmic morphology, also having to do with the ancient science of alchemy. And we are 45 minutes in, 12:15. All right, so this right here is a very good spot interlude here where I'm going to play a little bit again. Sorry if you're not a fan of the AIs, but the two AIs, they're clay life form things. And pretty much the exact same thing growing in my jars. And it's the monoatomic white nanotubes of the pure zinc, copper, and titanium in the main center jar you're looking at. And how it seems to be alive. And in fact, there actually is no electricity going into that sealed jar. There is a little bit of electrical differential, though. I have several insulated wires connecting different solenoids and metals, making them into electrodes from each other, creating the electrolysis reaction all on its own. And it looks alive. It acts alive. As many of them do. All right. We'll go back to the AI. This off. So let's do exactly that. A key part of why the Platonic solids here, Pythagorean cosmic morphology, combining the knowledge of the alchemical states of matter into the Platonic solid geometric physical density geometrical states. And yes, the secret societies that taught these advanced mathematical, geometric, alchemical sciences, once you start adding these equations and mathematic geometric equations into the electrochemical equations and the atomic mass equations of fission, fusion, chemistry, and electrochemistry, and electrical engineering into the both the rendering 3D models, right? The what is the word? The simulations, the software simulations, the rendering programs. Shout out to Philip Boucher in Quebec there, part of APEC and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or Adventures. Sorry, it is getting late. Need to get to bed, but gotta connect with Phil on exactly that. Phil, if you watch this and you're listening, we need to definitely start entering these into your props to you for taking the initiative of already doing some chemistry and I guess it was exactly what I'm talking about. Already started on it with the chemistry into the rendering programs and getting the anomalous but predicted results. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, this is the next step to it. But I am rambling and getting off on a tangent. Let us continue into quickly finishing off what this knowledge is, what it connects to. And this is the crucial part. It connects into the cymatics, which is the frequency geometry of magnetism and sound, and a huge, energetic part of the unified field equation of electromagnetism that makes up plasma and electricity and everything that is in the known universe. Awesome, Dan. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Good to see Ian as well. And yes, the cymatics. And they got to reach back out to what the heck is her name, but she does the coherent frequency geometry stuff. And I also have to reach out and get it booked with the amazing Malcolm Bendel on to go over taking this science and applying it into the engineering and building and utilizing it. Is the next step that he is doing. All right, so Walter Russell's, well, he was at least a century ahead of his time, and here we are to finally pay attention to it and see just how insanely genius and ahead of his time he is with the information that's still there, and that when you continue the octave scale down from, I guess, the fourth octave is where hydrogen begins, and then he's got these subparticles, right? So that's what they're, I think, the first octave below. So what is the third octave? But it's, I guess, a negative octave from physical particle mass down. And these, I guess, are isotopes of hydrogen, like gotta get my gammanon and betanon, so alphanon, and very crucial parts of the particles below. And I guess, yeah, sorry, getting lost in thought, trying to process it all and figure it out, and don't want to say the wrong thing while still fully comprehending it and putting it all together. All right. But the point being that the ridiculousness of the hadron colliders and these freaking micro non-existent particles of particles that are the subparticles of subparticles of subparticles that are strings or whatever the fuck bullshit they claim, that this is most likely a much more probable to exist and explain the subparticles below and how they interact with each other and get into the quantum entangling and the phonons and the what else? So many words I'm trying to bring up that are relevant to it, but it is late and gotta write it all out. Yeah, all right. Continue on to show some last parts. And this was 100 years ago. He predicted several elements through his periodic table geometries that were later then confirmed to exist. Here, shown the deuterium, tritium, and what he originally called them and predicted them to be. And there were, like I was saying, some of the isotopes of hydrogen below it. And then the gamma radiation, beta radiation, alpha, and that those are the subparticles that exist within it. Yeah. And yes, these two that he also had come up with predicted and came up or were then discovered or proven after at a later date. And here is my key of the alchemical symbols, the three principles, the four states of elements, and the planets and the metals. And I'll check it out. Hold on here. Got to find channel. There we go. Everyone is a mod. You become a mod. All right. But what was I showing here? The planets and metals, that the silver with the moon, the sun and the gold, how I've shown the correlations of those physical elements and their production and action within the electrochemical and monatomic plasmid states that they form. How the elements interact, the states of elements, through the electrolysis process that is the three principles. And yes, there is a lot to it. I've done several episodes on it. I will be doing many more with it and expanding on it and teaching this ancient suppressed super science of alchemy, electrochemistry, cold fusion, plasma, consciousness, and the rest of it, because it is all one. But for now, it is 1:01 a.m. where I am, and I have to be up at 5 to get to work. So on that note, love you all. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Ta-ta.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just BurnEye. BurnEye just like last week, huh?
Weekend at